So what have we got here? We've got ourselves this is the Yapad Android tablet. One of the long line of no-name, very low-cost Android tablets that seem to be flooding the market. It has the standard set of ports you'd find on most 7-inch tablets. Right here you can see the micro SD slot, volume rocker up and down, power switch, micro USB port, and the power button, and a microphone, and a camera just at the top there, camera. So what does it operate like? How does it, speaker at the back, sorry, I forgot the speaker at the back. How does it operate? Let's have a look. We're going to do a real world test here, because we're going to run it from 99% battery and just see how the battery life, because that's one of the first things that people normally ask about these cheap tablets. What's the battery life like? And quite justifiably, because it can be quite awful. So first thing, screen. Nothing untoward about that. It works. It swipes. It's responsive. It's a capacitive screen, multi-touch, and so you won't find anything to upset you really in that. It can be a little bit fiddly. So sometimes, what I mean by that is that it's not as sensitive. It can take you a couple of swipes to actually get the screen moving. But as you can see, it seems to be working quite well. I mean, it's the processor on this is on this particular one is 1 gigahertz. They range the Yapads up to 1.5 gigahertz at the moment. It's running Android 4.04 here, so it's a fairly new version of the operating system. So what that means is that you can actually access all the Play, the Google Play apps and games that you want to with impunity. There's no restrictions as far as we can see on that. So that's another good point about it. What else? Let's have a look and see actually running something live. So the one that a lot of people know is Cut the Rope. It's again, it runs the standard games quite nicely. It's not as, this is not a high class, high speed tablet. It's going to give you the kind of results you'd expect, but actually, I mean, a little bit more perhaps than you'd expect for this kind of price. So I'm not going to take a no. I don't want pudding monsters. Can I not have pudding monsters? Can I just not have Cut the Rope? I do love this in-game marketing. It's really quite good. Not. So why am I going through the same load again? Interesting, isn't it? Great. Cut the Rope comes back at last. There's a downgrade for you Cut the Rope people, making me exit out of the game just because I don't want your new rubbish. Speaker, that's max. You can hear it, I trust. Again, loading times are not brilliantly swift, but there you go. Are you impressed so far? The graphics are good, as you can see. Let's try one which is a little bit more testing of the screen, which is Fruit Ninja. Oh, there you go. As I've said before in other videos, I'm not that good at this. Oh, Yes, right. But it's a good way to show whether your screen is actually capable of handling. And as you can see, it is. So games, it plays fine. Let's try something a little bit more demanding, which is browsing. Now, obviously, it has no internal SIM, although the later models of these are supposed to support external 3G dongle. And I might see if I can dig out one from the cupboards and try that in a minute. I'm not sure what this is. Some sort of I'm trapped in a YouTube nightmare at the moment. Now, this is one of the things you'll have to put up with a slightly sluggish performance when trying to move around quite quickly from place to place in things like the browser. It can be a little bit frustrating if you're used to, as you can see, it can be frustrating because it's not reacting the way the speed it should do. It does react eventually, and as you'll see, it's paging. This is partly a result of not enough RAM. Of course, these things only come with 512, the low-cost ones. If you can find a low-cost tablet with a gigabyte of RAM, that's definitely a good deal, because the 512 is just not big enough for them to page in and out swiftly, so that browsing can be a bit problematic. As you can see, the responsiveness is not of the screen, it's literally the fact that the process is doing a lot of stuff trying to get the stuff, the information, the data in and out of the memory and the cache. So now I've asked for Google, and it's trying its best to give that to me. And this is on Wi-Fi, remember, so it's got nothing to do with the speed of the connection. It's really how good the Wi-Fi antenna is and how good the Wi-Fi responsiveness is. And you're going to, there you go. You're going to suffer from lags on these lower cost tablets. The bottom line is, if you're patient with them, if you're willing to wait longer and not confuse it by pressing the button every 30 seconds or 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever, then it will work. It'll give you a result. So if we do a search here, as you can see, the multi-touch works. So I can change that. Now I'm waiting for the keyboard to arrive. There it is. So it's a 3-second delay. Let's go. But once it's going, once the browser's actually operating, as you can see, it's crisp. It's not. I mean, crisp. I mean, it's not 5 seconds await. So here we go. I've just accessed. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're on to the site. 5, 6. The thing's loading again. Same problem with the memory, lack of memory. You're loading images. 7, 8. There. So large image to load. Slowed it right down. Once you're on there, you're able to scroll quite well. But you're going to always have that initial hit because of the low amount of RAM on these. It's just the way the architecture is. So who would you recommend this for? Well, I'd say this is a great second tablet for using for the children, or for using alongside the TV for checking out TV listings and things like that. The occasional browse when you're just wandering around, maybe in the kitchen. Although again, it depends how patient you can be with the laggish nature of the browser with large images if you're looking at recipes. we've been running this now about 10 minutes, and we've got 92%. So we've used 7% of the battery so far, using Wi-Fi and a bit of gaming. So that gives you a sort of idea. It's not as bad as you think. It's not it's certainly not going to be a 20-minute, end of battery situation. The batteries now work a lot better than they did before on the earlier versions of these cheap tablets. So from that point of view, it becomes much more viable for a kid's tablet or whatever. And when you remember the price, we're talking extremely cheap, basically, for something which can play games, play apps, do all the sort of things that a major name $300, $400, $500 tablet can do, but at 1/10 of the price. So is it worth buying? Well, yeah, funnily enough. If you're ready for, a couple of things, you get what you pay for. So don't be surprised when it's slower in certain areas than it should be. And also, it can be a little hit or miss. The specifications and the quality control are definitely not as good on these tablets as they would be on the major brands. So sometimes you may get a tablet which is duff and you'll have to return it and get a new one, which can be hassles. I'm not downplaying the hassles of that. But on the whole, looking at it as a value for money proposition, yeah, definitely. You can pick it up for a song, really, and that's what counts. The YayPad Android 7-inch tablet.